Welcome to the official Personality Guru. ESFPs are outgoing, friendly, and adventurous. They live to experience all the joys and thrills that life has to offer, and they want others to join them in the process. Their common sense and realistic approach to life keep them grounded and able to handle a wide variety of challenges. At their best, ESFPs are flexible, adaptable, and easygoing. They are keen observers of people's behavior as well as what's going on around them. This means that they can read people fairly quickly and can get a sense of practical needs that are going unmet. They have a special gift for helping people see the enjoyment of life. Additionally, they're usually quick and quick to help out in a crisis. However, when ESFPs are unhealthy, they can become reckless and irresponsible. They may engage in risky behavior or make impulsive decisions without thinking about the consequences. Rather than being empathetic and helpful, unhealthy ESFPs become self-centered and manipulative, using others for their gain. When ESFPs don't grow and mature as individuals, they become distracted and impulsive and have trouble carrying out their responsibilities. They may limit their decisions to what will be most gratifying at the moment without thinking about the future consequences. Because these ESFPs are so fixated on enjoyment and activity, they don't pause to consider whether they're living a life they can be proud of in the end. Rather than sitting with themselves and dealing with their vulnerabilities and deeper needs, they flit from activity to activity or person to person, looking for fun wherever they can find it. When ESFPs first start experiencing stress, they tend to become more exaggerated and true to type. They may try to distract themselves with television, activities, or exercise. Reframing the situation or seeing the bright side is something they often try to do. However, if stress becomes extreme or chronic, they can experience an intense grip reaction to stress. When this happens, they become overwhelmed by dark and gloomy visions or ideas about the future. They tend to become more reclusive and pessimistic when stressed, believing that the future inevitably will let them down. Instead of seeing possibilities for enjoyment like they usually do, they become fixated on the distant future and all the negatives it could hold. Today, let's talk about ESFP's shadow and the dark side of the ESFP. Before we start, make sure to subscribe to the official Personality Guru and ring the bell icon to get regular updates on our latest uploads. And if you like this video, click the thumbs up button and share it with your friends. Each of the 16 Myers-Briggs personality types represent a package of cognitive functions that together form a portrait of a conscious ego identity. The functions that constitute our Mbti type encapsulate the conscious preferences and perspectives that help explain and inform our behavior and tendencies. There is also an unconscious side of our personality that is repressed. This theoretical side of ourselves is known as the shadow and encompasses the things we reject and disassociate from our ego identity. Carl Jung originally conceptualized the shadow as a feature of the inferior function. He believed the inferior function was the gateway to the shadow. Jungian analyst John Beebe later described the shadow in terms of cognitive function archetypes. By inverting the attitude, the introverted or extroverted preference of each cognitive function of a particular type, you get the shadow version of that type. For the ESFP, their shadow would therefore be the ISFJ. The shadow type represents perspectives that are ego dystonic, which is to say they clash with or obstruct the ego identity. The important thing to understand is that the shadow is a part of us and can manifest as negative projections we unduly impose on others. Being aware of the shadow can help us manage disruptive and destructive parts of our psyche that we may not even realize are happening. Here now is a look at the ESFP shadow functions and how they manifest in their personality. ESFP fifth function, SI opposing. The ESFP's first shadow function is SI opposing. The opposing function emerges in response to the dominant function being obstructed or opposed. Extroverted sensing is the ESFP's dominant preference. This means they approach life with an openness to new and stimulating experiences. SE is all about living in the moment and engaging with their environment. Introverted sensing, on the other hand, is focused on experience stored in memory. It relies heavily on past precedent and favors things of historical and traditional significance. SI prefers that which is familiar and routine over the risky and unpredictable. When the ESFP's dominant SE perspective feels obstructed or opposed by SI-related perspectives, ESFPs may become oppositional. Their preference for freedom to improvise and operate on instinct can feel encumbered and heavily restricted by an SI emphasis on rote memorization and adherence to procedure. They may become frustrated and impatient when they feel such rules and step-by-step procedures are slowing them down or holding them back in some way. ESFP's shadow SI is used to defend and justify their dominant SE perspective while projecting an antagonistic SI persona onto the person obstructing them. They may argue against them for being old-fashioned, boring, or narrow-minded. Additionally, they may bring up things about the past that undermine the other person and support ESFP's SE viewpoint about the present. ESFP's sixth function, FE critical parent. ESFP's second shadow function and sixth function overall is FE critical parent. The critical parent function represents how we sometimes defend the authority of our auxiliary function, also referred to as the good parent. The auxiliary function supports and affirms the dominant function, and for extroverted types like ESFP, it describes the nature of their introverted side. ESFP's auxiliary introverted feeling signifies their humane and personal sense of values. ESFPs use their introverted feeling to nurture and mentor both themselves and others. They have a sense of idealism and self-belief that has the power to encourage and inspire. FE critical parent, on the other hand, describes how ESFP may tear down or demoralize others when they feel cranky or disgruntled, typically in response to having the authority of their FI personal values being undermined or taken for granted by what they perceive as standardized group values that don't represent them as an individual. Under such conditions, ESFPs may use their shadow FE to assert their moral authority upon others. They may also chastise others for disrupting social harmony while ironically disrupting it themselves. FE critical parent manifests as a bit of defensive moral grandstanding and shaming others when they feel guilty about disobeying group standards and values. ESFP 7th function, TI trickster. ESFP's third shadow function and 7th function overall is introverted thinking. This is the shadow side of their tertiary extroverted thinking. The tertiary function is described as a relief role and backs up to the auxiliary function with which it works in tandem. The tertiary function also describes alternative ways in which we like to be creative and have fun. Thus, when they have time for it, ESFPs derive some fun and ego gratification from organizing their environment and doing technical planning. As with other types, ESFPs may sometimes overestimate or inflate the strength of their tertiary TE function as being equal to the dominant or auxiliary TE function of other types. How about you as an ESFP or any other personality type? What are your shadow functions and what are your dark sides? Be sure to watch until the end and share your experience for a chance to have your comment pinned. TI trickster is a response to feeling double-bound and threatened by another person's TI logic. When another person finds flaws or pokes holes in the way ESFP organizes or structures things, it can arouse ESFP's shadow TI. ESFP may feel confused or emotionally wounded when someone essentially points out the stupidity of how or why they organized things the way they did. ESFPs will therefore attempt to use individual references to invalidate the other person's logic and turn the tables on them. ESFPs may use specious logic just to trap and make the other person appear stupid. Before we continue, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give us a like and share it with your friends. Subscribe to the official Personality Guru for more amazing videos. Don't forget to ring the bell icon to stay updated with our content. ESFP 8th function, an E-demon. Finally, we have ESFP's 4th shadow function, an E-demon. The demon function is the most suppressed area of consciousness. It is referred to as an internal saboteur and manifests as an exaltation of one's integrity via the cognitive function that inhabits it. In the case of the ESFP, creativity and openness to new ideas become a narcissistic basis for their ego worth. At the same time, they impute evil intent behind others' words and deeds in response to feeling befuddled by others' abstract observations and conceptualizations. It is suspected that the other person is deliberately taking advantage of this. ESFPs may then overread between the lines, so to speak, and attribute negative intent where none was intended.